build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance to spit in his eye. Well, they gave me balls, but I can see between to a dusty yard and long gone green. We call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I drown my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone. I'm sober as a judge.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Longbangers. I'm Mai. Tonight I'm joined by Brian and John. Brian, how are you doing?
I'm very well. Matthew, how are you?
I'm good. We had a wee pregnant pause there where Skype decided whether it was going to start fucking recording or not there. If you're wondering why I clicked the button and then waited for ages, the wee thing didn't pop up.
Well,
so,
you've always been the forefront of technology, Matthew, haven't you?
This is probably the first time we'll talk about wee things popping up, yeah. We're recording, John. Well done. That's normally when I start with a hello, everybody. This is Longbangers, but that's our.
No. Listen, I've just
we never
got the
one take.
I just didn't have the wee notification pop up on my screen, but it's come up now. I'm devastated. I'm devastated because Jesse Nelson's leaving Little Mix, never to return. So, and I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
I went to see Little Mix one time. Had to go with my daughter. She got tickets for Christmas, I think, and as the designated.
Disappointed that you had to take your daughter.
Oh. It's a challenging wank when you've got an audience. Sorry, when you're in an audience. No, what am I saying? None of that happened. Yeah, we had to go. That was the evening that I did perhaps the most pungent fart I've ever done in my life. I don't know if we was at the Hydro, and it was only me, but my daughter, she would have been 12 at the time, and we just got into Glasgow and come off the motorway, and you kind of come off the motorway and you have to turn right to head towards SECC in the Hydro, and we stopped at the lights, and I was like, "What? Just a wee quiet one, and let it out." But it was humming. Do you know one of those ones you have to open the window? Right. And Sophie said, "Oh, what's that smell?" And I was like, "Glasgow." And said no more about it. It was the night Hibs were in the playoff against Hamilton with the away leg. And I was trying to keep an eye on the score, so didn't get to see the game. We won that one as well. We come and scored twice, I think.
In many ways, that pungent fart was a harbinger of what was to come, eh?
Aye, it was. It was. Anyway, right. Tonight we've got a rather convincing win to talk about. 4-0 against Hamilton on Saturday. John, I know you did see the game. What were your thoughts?
Oh, I thought Hibs were outstanding. I thought it was probably the best performance for Hibs since Jack Ross took over. Like, combined over 90 minutes, I thought it was out and out our best performance.
And Brian, what about you?
I think going over to Ross County at any point in the season's tough, so to squeeze out a 1-0 win was testament to our fortitude and newfound resilience.
What do you think was key to that victory, Brian?
To be honest, probably I think John O'Neill just knitted it all together quite nicely.
He's a bit of an unsung hero, isn't he?
He was, aye. A lot of people haven't mentioned him, his performance at the weekend, which I find strange.
John, what would you say was the highlight for you if you were to pick a kind of key reason why we won the match?
Scoring more goals than Hamilton.
Ah, fucking hell. There's cutting edge analysis there, eh? Fucking John O'Neill scored more than the opposition. Right, thanks for listening, folk. We'll be back maybe at some point.
What was the question again? What was key? What was key?
But what was the driving force behind
in a match I've not even seen? I've somehow managed to come across as more knowledgeable than Josh.
Hold on. How is it you pair can come in with your deadpan like answers to me, like thinking out loud, but I can't come out with one? You just go, I'm fucking more analytical than you, and you saw the game. How does that work?
Well, that's how this podcast works, John.
What? Just take the piss out of me?
Aye, we're 77 episodes in, and you've just discovered that.
Read the room,
Aye.
John.
Fuck, I don't know. I don't. Do you know? I don't think there was any one thing that made the difference. I thought it was just a seamless team performance. Like every player played their part from the starting 11 through the substitutes, and I got the sense that whatever it is that Jack Ross has been trying to do, like I think we've started to see like a wee change in personnel and sort of formation in the last few weeks, and I thought that really came together.
Brian, that's 7 goals in the last 2 away games, none against. Are Hibs starting to shift the boring tag?
I think the boring tag was unwarranted anyway.
Yep.
But if there is a boring tag or people attach that label to them, if 7 goals in 2 games away from home doesn't remove that, then I don't know what does. But then I noticed somebody on Hibs Net was appraising Jack Ross on the last 2 games and decided to give him a solid B on his report card. Like, what do you want from us?
What was good about that one, Briggs? I asked that. I said, fucking hell, it's a tough audience. Like a solid B with 7 goals and none against. And I said, what would have made it an A? And the next person said, you know, if they'd got wins against Celtic or Rangers or maybe beat Hearts. I was like, well, he's only judging the last 2 games. He wasn't playing them. Like, that's even fucking tougher.
He gets an E+ if we cuff Brazil.
If he'd cured COVID in that time. Frankly, I'm living in ever.
He's just not cut out for it.
You sometimes wonder, you sometimes wonder. There was a few standouts, I thought, John, in the game. A wee return to form for Martin Boyle. What do you think there?
I don't think that Martin Boyle's played as poorly as some people have maybe made out. Like we're just talking there about like expectations and what have you. And I think I was saying last week or the week before that Martin Boyle's been involved in Hibs goals. Like he's provided assists or he's been involved in the attacking move, and he's still managed to get a bit of stick for it. But he's like I was really surprised that he stepped up for the penalty, but he's also laid a ball on the plate for Nisbet for the 4th goal. So he's still like I still see the same performance from him, but I can understand a little bit where people are coming from in terms of like that's probably more like the levels that he was performing at, maybe pre-contract signing. But I don't think that he's performed poorly since then.
Brian, would you have had him down as Martin off the boil over recent weeks?
I think he made a rod for his own back a while ago when he made the comment along the lines of no disrespect to the level that he's playing at, but he wants to play at a far higher level because he's by no means been terrible, but I think pace kills in our league. Pace is such a huge asset in our league, and because he's normally, or when he's on his game, he is so direct. I never really saw a lot of that until very, very recently, to be honest. I thought the first game of the season when he scored the 2 against Kilmarnock, I thought, right, he's going to... You saw it with John McGinn, where it just seemed like he just improved phase after phase after phase, and you got to a stage where you thought, wow, he is going to be a right player. And with Boyle, I thought he was going on a similar trajectory, but I think because we know what he's capable of, I can see why people thought he's not hitting the heights that we know he can, without being shite.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we had seen a lot more for Boyle than we had seen recently. Although, in saying that, I think one of the catalysts to our change in form or getting into the goals again has been that kind of return to form for Boyle. I thought second half against Motherwell He was really good, and I thought the full shift that he put in on Saturday was outstanding. I was just a candidate for man of the match, but actually you could probably pick from a few of them. The other one that kind of stood out was Kevin Nisbet. So John, you're skinny doppelganger. What did you think of his performance?
I thought it was excellent. I thought the only thing that was missing for his game was a goal right up until he scored, because he's the whole Hibs forward line were sort of like, how to put it, like interchanging their positions.
Yep. Carry on, John.
No, I'm just going to let Brian have his wee laughing fit, and I'll let that fill the silence.
I'm done. As you were, John, as you were.
What did you like about his performance then, John?
The only thing Hitler was missing was the war until
The war.
started that war.
The only thing that Captain Jack Sparrow had was no being a pirate. Until he was a pirate.
That was well and truly a proper Jonism. Look at him. He's crestfallen.
Oh, John, you make me feel guilty when you look like that. Anyway, Brian, what did you like about Kevin Nisbet's performance?
I don't know. I've never seen it. He was brilliant. Johnny Boy gave him a good rating on Hibs.net, so I pretty much agree with everything Johnny Boy says.
I thought he was excellent. They did a fun. I don't know if either of you saw Sports Scene on Saturday. I know you never saw it, Brian.
No.
But did you see Sports Scene, John?
No, I never watched it.
Brilliant. All right. Well, they did in their analysis after the match. They had Sean Maloney. He didn't really add much to it, to be fair, but they had kind of centred on Kevin Nisbet and the role that he played in the game, and then they showed clips and never talked about Kevin Nisbet really, so it was fucking useless. But I thought Nisbet.
John very kindly sent me the Sports Scene highlights on WhatsApp earlier on. Now I know it was only just the goals, but Dodge looked very good.
Dodge was excellent
in the sort of 2 minutes 17 seconds that I saw. But there was what they did show where he was holding it up. There was a couple of back heels. He looked like he was getting. Well, I think that's 2 and 2 now he's got, isn't he?
Yeah.
So if last season's anything to go by, that's him now up and running
through the end of the season, goal a game.
Yep.
Well, I think what worked was Deutsch played slightly further ahead than Nisbet. Nisbet kept dropping into space and either picking up the ball and linking play or holding it up. But sometimes you haven't really seen from Nisbet so much as him doing the hold-up work. So you had Deutsch knocking the defenders about a wee bit, making really clever runs. Nisbet dropping into space where the defenders didn't know whether to follow him or whether to let him go. And that kind of created space all over the pitch. And then when you've got Boyle tearing forward, and actually Drey RIGHT as well had a good game. So I should maybe talk about Drey RIGHT next. Once we finished about well, you can't forget about Drey. Once we finished talking about Nisbet. So John, you kind of reflected on him just needing the goal until he scored it. What did you think of his goal?
Brian? The point I was trying to make before Mr. Childish stepped in and interrupted the class.
Do you know what the best thing about it? So just I'm going to interrupt you for a second, John, and this might be rude, but I feel bad for Brian because Brian's getting the flag for it, and this will not come across on the podcast because you can only listen to us, you can't see it. But as you said it, and I looked at Brian and just kind of went, fuck, shook my shoulders, and I think that triggered
you done
Brian.
the Allan Partridge and just done that. That set me off.
So although Brian's copping the flag for having a laugh with it, I feel I should put my hands up and say it was my fault.
It's all Matthew's fault.
one of the things I was going to say about Nisbet's performance in the Hibs front line was that Hibs had 68% of the possession, 16 shots, 8 on target. We just dominated them completely. And it was a surprise that it took Nisbet to score. Sorry, it was a surprise that it took Nisbet as long to score as it did, because Hibs were creating chances aplenty there.
Yeah.
His goal was just like proper striker's finish. It was almost kind of like Nisbet didn't have like a sort of poacher's game on Saturday. Like he was doing all that interlinking of play that you were talking about. And you mentioned Doidge as well. Like his run or his involvement in Paul McGinn's goal. So he starts the move off with a wee back heel and then he goes heading off. Like he gets this unbelievable burst of pace that Doidge isn't known for, and he goes heading off down the left-hand side. And it just pulls players out of position. And I thought it was a hallmark of Hibs at the weekend there was the player movement.
Aye, that's something actually that's been missing in the games where we've struggled to create chances. That movement has been something that's been lacking. I think that you see players are kind of more ponderous on the ball because they don't really have a good option to pass it to. Whereas on Saturday, because you had players making moves like that, we were able to knock the ball about really well.
Has the absence of Gogic allowed that to happen?
It's a good question. I think that comes up in our hot topics that folk have sent in, Brian, but it's probably worth exploring that. Gogic obviously plays a particular role in the team, but the last 2 wins have come without him. Arguably 2 of our better performances of the season. A lot of people point to Saturday's game as the best performance of the season. So I suppose, John, is the question, does Gogic come back into the team or are we better without him?
Nah. I think I need to stick to my guns and say that I think any player that's come in that's been part of that winning team, they need to keep their place. Like it's the players on the outside that need to wait for the chance to get back in again. So and Hallberg seems to have made that position in the middle his own in the last couple of games.
It's interesting. We talked about Hallberg last week after the Motherwell game, so I wasn't really going to touch too much on him, but I think that's fair. I mean, he kind of got an early chance in the game, and one of the things that was a bit of a hallmark of his performance on Saturday was those runs beyond the strikers and getting into kind of dangerous positions, which, again, you definitely don't get that from Gogic. So there is that added dimension that he brings.
I thought Hibs' second goal and the players that are involved, they're some of the players that have come under, I don't know if I'd call it criticism, but they've been highlighted. People have wondered what it is that they actually bring to Hibs. So Brian had mentioned about Hallberg before and said that maybe he needs to do something different with his hair because he reckons that's where his power lies. But he was involved in one of the goals against Motherwell, and he was involved in one of the goals against who were we playing at the weekend? Hamilton. But it was also involved Lou Stevenson, also involved Drey RIGHT for the cross to Doidge. Like all these players who needed to be a bit more direct, needed to have a bit more influence on the games, they've all combined for a goal for Hibs, and that's got to be a good thing.
And the ball in for Wright was a striker's dream as well. I mean, Brian, could you have put it in any better?
That was a great ball, to be fair. That was a lovely ball. But I still want to see more for Drey RIGHT, and I still want to see more from Milker Hallberg.
So here's the question I wanted to ask before when we were talking about Martin Boyle. I was trying to have a look at, do a wee quick look for like stats and things like goals and assists and what have you, and I couldn't find it. But what more could Drey RIGHT do at the weekend? He's been involved in a goal. He's provided the assist for Doidge.
Have you effectively given Drey RIGHT a B for his performance on Saturday? Right.
This is, I mean, like, I don't know, like, I'm not being facetious. This is the kind of thing that I want to understand. Like, I want to understand the sort of, like, maybe the more pessimistic supporter, if you know what I mean. Because I don't know what more Drey RIGHT has to do at the weekend to get more praise from people.
I would say do more of what he did at the weekend, because I haven't seen that up, and I've seen he scored against Rangers. That it was a goal. It wasn't think it was, was that a keeper error? I don't know. But I'd like to see more than... You can have a striker like your Van Nistelrooy, for example, that would do hee-haw, but he would still always score practically a goal a game, and you just accepted that because goals win games. Drey RIGHT, I would want to see... By all accounts, he played well, and he's got his assist. But the times I've seen him up until, I've never seen Saturday, but up until Saturday, he's not impressed me very much at all. Normally, when I'm watching a game, if I'm focusing on a player or whatever, you can get a feel for them and say, you know what, they've got something about them. You could just, I've seen it before, Scott Allan, I knew within 5 minutes, clapping eyes on him, he's a player. Drey RIGHT, I've yet to see it, and that's with me knowing that Tommy Wright had said he was probably the best player he'd ever worked with. Not that Tommy Wright's, dealt with Romario and Zidane and whatever, but he's dealt with a good few players, and that was quite high praise indeed. So I suppose in the back of that, I'm thinking he has to have something about him. I've just not seen it.
I think Saturday was an opportunity for Wright to set the bar. I think you're right. I think for him to win people over, John, to answer the questions, I think it's fair to say I'm probably one of the last people to stick the boot into Hibs players. Like I didn't ever see the value in it. I don't mind being honest, giving an honest opinion of people if they've had like a decent length of time to kind of show what they can do. And I think probably you would still argue that Drey RIGHT hasn't had that length of time in the team to do it. But I think to date he hadn't really shown enough to say that he's a stick on for a jersey. When you look at the players that he's competing against on Saturday, you would have him in the first team regularly. You would have no problem putting him in. He contributed well. He worked hard. He was effective. He got an assist for a goal with a wonderful cross. And I think that's, if I was Jack Ross, I'd be saying to Drey RIGHT, that's you set the bar now. That's the standard I'm expecting for you every single week. And that, I think, was what would turn people opinion round on him.
Fair dues.
McGinn got the third goal. He's on a bit of a hot streak as well for goals. That was his third goal in 3 games or something, was it? 4 games, something like that. Which I think when he scored his 2. That was a cup game, wasn't it?
St Johnstone, was it? Did he get the 2?
Oh, St Johnstone. It was in the league. I get my games muddled up. The season's all rolling into one. You kind of forget what's happening because you're watching everything on the TV. Some finish though, like that's a finish a striker would have been proud of. I mean, Brian, you mentioned Van Nistelrooy. If he'd hit a ball like that, he'd have been chuffed to bits.
It was a rocket, eh? That was a proper put your waist's clean through it effort, that one.
It's one of those ones when you hit it, like, I'm kind of one of these players, I've not got a hard shot on me at all. I barely kick the ball the length of myself, but every now and again you catch a ball sweetly, and when you do it, you tend to say "fucko" or something like that as you do it. And that's what I imagine when McGinn ran on it. I just thought, that's a fucko that he's hitting there. Yeah, I have it. The keeper had absolutely no chance with it, John.
No, the entire Hamilton back 4, but in particular the left back, just look absolutely bamboozled. Like, who's just hit that? It's Paul McGinn. What the fuck is Paul McGinn doing there? But if you watch the goal back, I think it's McGinn's willingness to support the attack that allows him that goal. Like, he just keeps running and running and running. Like he's obviously scored a couple of goals in recent weeks. And I think people maybe thought of that as being a wee bit of a fluke. But is he on like 4 goals for the season now?
3.
Is it just the 3 in total?
Maybe 4. I think it's just 3.
But it's a good attacking move. Like I mentioned it before about the back heel and Doige and blah blah blah, and it comes in. It doesn't quite make it to Martin Boyle. Like the Hamilton defender sort of half clears it, and then suddenly there's McGinn just bursting through, and like you say, he leathers it. But I think he's kind of known as being sort of quite dependable at the back, but he's actually become a really, really important attacking outlet for Hibs as well. Like he's really providing a lot of support down that right hand side for Martin Boyle, for example.
And there's a right quirk in that. In that when we played Motherwell, And the 3 goals scored, the order of scorers was Boyle, Doidge, McGinn. And then on Saturday, the order of scorers was Boyle, Doidge, McGinn, albeit a different McGinn.
Nisbet in brackets.
Aye. Well, Nisbet got the 4th, didn't he? So,
Aye.
you know, up until the point where Nisbet scored, it just that's a curious wee thing. I wonder how often that's happened with 3 different players scoring in the same, well, not the same, 4 different players, but with the names in the same order in consecutive games.
Need to get in touch with the Fiver at the Guardian. Put it in the queue after 3 brothers scoring for 2 separate clubs in the same week.
Aye. Right, and then we covered Nisbet's goal. Paul Hanlon. What I thought about Paul Hanlon. So Paul Hanlon kind of is a player who splits opinion in the support. It's fair to say there's some people who I think really rate him, and other people who have kind of chomping at the bit for us to replace him for a while. I thought my own opinion of Hanlon's performance on Saturday was that he was flawless. I thought he had an absolute stonking game. Brian, I'll go to John first in this one because he saw the 90 minutes. Would you agree with that, John, or what was your take on Hanlon's performance?
I thought he was good. If Scott Allan plays that through ball for Doidge for his one-on-one opportunity, you'd be raving about it. It goes, I think it went unnoticed, and I don't think it was talked about enough. And it was the same for the ball in the first couple of minutes for Hallberg that he sent through for him, albeit that one was over the top. Just two beautiful passes. But everything else about his game was fine. Like, I think one thing that Hanlon's maybe known for is being capable of one error a game of, you know, varying degrees. But I know that just wasn't there. I thought him and Porteous were outstanding at the back. In fact, the entire back 4 were outstanding. Gave Hamilton no chance whatsoever.
I think the reason I wouldn't have called out Porteous as much as Hanlon, I think Porteous was a wee bit wayward with his passing a few times and actually kind of played us into trouble. A couple of, not into trouble because we defended well, but you know, he kind of either broke down promising moves or lost the ball needlessly a few times. So that would be my only criticism of Porteous on Saturday. But I thought defensively he was outstanding.
Aye, see, I kind of have a wee bone to pick with like the Hanlon shout, because you mentioned about how he kind of polarises some of the Hib support. Yeah. And I think he's that sort of contradictory player, if you like. So Brian was talking about Drey RIGHT before, and you know, doing things more often. You said, right, that's the bar being set for Drey RIGHT. That's what he needs to be doing week in, week out. But then you have someone like Hanlon that's been playing for Hibs for umpteen years, and he still gets stick for things that he's maybe done fucking 8 seasons ago.
Aye, it's bonkers. It's like maybe one of the things with familiarity breeding contempt. It's maybe that's the script because Stevenson gets it as well. And like, you wouldn't sit and pretend that either of them were the perfect footballers, but they're both very good. Aye. But they get flack that I think is often undeserved.
And I think that was something that I tried to draw out on Twitter, where a couple of people, when talking about Drey RIGHT, was right. It's fine. Like, sorry, it's not fine. If you're going to give players stick when they do something bad, you know, you're going to label with terms like not good enough and, you know, get out of my club, all that sort of shit. Why do we never talk about the good things that they do in equal measure? So I'm talking about like Hanlon there with his through ball, his ball over the top, and his defending. Nobody's talking about that. No one is given that the rightful praise that it's due. And I personally have a bit of difficulty with that.
If only there was a podcast talking about it.
Kim.
Championing them in the fucking Longbangers. Brian, what's your thoughts on Hanlon?
He's not as bad as the people that say shite. He's not as good as the people that think he's God. It's about it, really, isn't it?
It's fair enough, isn't it? Okay. Other news this week, we saw. We'll just leave that game there. I think not really too much else to talk about with it. Scott Allan back in training. This is good news.
Great news. I don't know. Do you know the way that Hibs are playing at the moment? I think that there's a place for him within that sort of like 4-2-3-1 formation that we're playing. Obviously, he'll have to wait his turn, etc., etc. It's it's a bit of an old cliche, isn't it? Like it's kind of like having a new signing. Like if we can get the Scott Allan, or the sort of peak Scott Allan that we've seen in recent years, then we're on a good one.
What does that thought do to you, Brian?
It makes me very, very tumescent.
Is that word tumescent? It was great news. I mean, particularly when, and without going into the rumours, there were rumours about his career being over and things like that. So it's good to see that that was perhaps an exaggeration, and that's him back in training with the team, and hopefully not too far from for the first team. Also, we saw this week there was an interview with Graham Matthew, and I apologise to whoever did it because I forgot to take a note of the source, but he was talking about us being ready to sign players in January. Not huge numbers, but I think maybe 2 or 3 was what he was looking at. Where would be your priority positions to strengthen, Brian?
This I can't really think of any position that needs strengthened. Maybe a bit of squad depth, possibly. We're light on numbers, but nah.
What about you, John?
I was going to say midfield, but we've still got McGuinness to come back. Nah.
I don't see any particular areas. Like we're third in the league, kicking arse or second, but games still to be played, all that sort of shit, notwithstanding. But I'd probably be picking hairs if I was to say maybe like right back, for example, because I think Tom James is probably away because he's not getting a game at Hibs with Paul McGinn playing as well as he is. I don't see David Gray being the backup. Like maybe it'll just be like a sort of like for like swap, like another right back just kind of waiting in the wings. But I can't think of any other areas. Maybe a striker. If I was being really, really picky, just for a bit of the squad depth that Brian mentions.
That wee bit of variety. It's interesting because you saw on Saturday Jamie Gullan come on, and he's quite versatile, so he can play across the front. Stephen Bradley made his debut as well. I thought he looked really impressive.
He was.
And I think he's 18, for an 18-year-old laddie coming in playing as well as he did. It gives us another option on the wide players. So if you take the strikers, you would pick from Gogic, Nisbet, Gullan. I think you maybe would want to put another one in there to have the option, because then you've got a bit of cover and something to come off the bench if you get an injury. I don't know what else we have in the youth team to come on in the forward areas. Wingers, you've got Wright, Boyle, and Murphy, and Bradley if you're including him. So you've probably got enough cover there. Central midfield were quite well stocked. So you're maybe looking across the back four and saying, well, left back, but you've got Stevenson's back fit. You've got Gogic, who's been in the team and experienced the first time football this season, and
Mackie,
thank you. His name escaped me there for a minute. Mackie, but that cover on the other side, you've got Gray and McGinn that can play there. So maybe a right back, but it's quite a good position to be in, isn't it?
A rare position for us to be in.
Centre half are probably less well stocked because you've got Porteous, Hanlon, and McGregor. But beyond that, I think we're struggling.
I think if we were to be really struggling at centre half, we might go. Well, actually, maybe no. That sounds like a lot of shite now that I think about it. I was going to say maybe we go 3 at the back, but then ignore me.
McGinn can play at centre half.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, but I don't know if he would play at centre half in a back 4. You know what I mean? I think he would play as part of a back 3.
Gogic can play centre back.
Of course he can, yeah, right enough. Aye. It's an interesting one. So, in which case, if you're not bringing in they'll either look at bringing in cover, in which case we probably shouldn't get too excited about the signings, or you're bringing in to improve, and that's somebody who's better than what we've got already, which would be a good thing as well. They might also recruit to mitigate for Joe Newell not signing a new contract or Marciano not signing a new contract, which would be the other thing, because in next month they're both free to talk to other clubs. As is Lewis, I suppose, as well. Stevenson's contract's up as well, but I think Hibs have made it clear they want to tie him
Stevenson's
down
here
for a
for
bit longer.
life. He'll never
I
leave.
hope so. Aye. I'd quite like to see him get one of the contracts that McGregor and Gray got, which is the kind of you play till you're not playing and then you're an ambassador or you have a different role at the club.
I'd like to think that Joe Newell signs on again, and Marciano. Newell, because I wonder what sort of... Like, he seems to really be enjoying that position that he's playing for Hibs at the moment, which is kind of deep lying, trying to dictate the play. But I think from when he was down in England, he was predominantly played out on the left wing.
Mhm.
And I wonder if he's maybe enjoying his football more here, and if that would lead him to sign a new contract with Hibs rather than looking elsewhere. Same with Marciano. I kind of think that Marciano would probably didn't get me wrong. Like, Marciano's a really good keeper, and I wonder what would that mean. Was it Ashdod in Israel? Did they have 50% of his contract or something? Did they own still part of the rights to him?
I don't think they do, because I think he signed another extension with us, didn't he? There was talk about him going previously, and I think he extended. I could see him staying again. I think him and his family seem very settled in Edinburgh.
I'd love to see him stay. I think out of him and you, I think Marciano we might be most at risk of losing, just because with him being a really good keeper and also being an international keeper as well. I think there might be a few clubs sniffing a bit.
Harder to replace him as well.
Oh, definitely.
It's an interesting position to be in, or to see what happened. I'm sure there was a stat that Newell had started more games than anybody else at Hibs this season.
Is he? Oh no, I was going to say, I thought I'd seen something that said that he'd started every game, but he definitely had a game or two out injured when he got that shoulder injury. Did he not?
Can't remember. You could be right. Early on in the season.
Aye.
I think you could be onto something there, John. But anyway, I hope he stays. He has made a good impact on the team. Next up, then, we've got a game tomorrow night against Alloa in the Cup. So it's quarter-final. Got a wee chance to get into another semi-final. You seen any problems for us in that one, Brian?
Nah.
And what makes you say that?
Don't know, really.
Well, one thing's for sure, we can't have any complaints about it being a plastic pitch because we lost it at the weekend on a plastic pitch. So I think that argument's probably out the window now.
I think it's 8 goals in our 2 games on plastic pitches this season, isn't it? Like, we played Livingston, scored 4, Hamilton scored 4. So we've got to be, take that out as a factor. I think Alloa had lost something like 4 out of their first 5 games as well. So we're not looking at a team that's banging form. Although they did knock Hearts out, which is quite amusing.
I think Hamilton being the team that they are, and the position that they tend to play, the position that they tend to find themselves in year out since they got promoted, they're quite disciplined. They don't tend to give a hell of a lot away. So it was almost like having a good sparring partner for Alloa at the weekend. For Alloa tomorrow night. Because I would imagine a similarly disciplined performance. Like, you don't imagine them being sort of cavalier, swashbuckling football, because if that was the case, then Hibs would just tear them apart. I think they're, superior fitness, resources, that kind of thing. If Hibs can get the same sort of movement out of the players, play the same sort of system, then we should just beat them quite easily. Touchwood.
Score predictions?
3-0.
3-0, did you say?
I said 3, Brian said 6.
6, all right. So I'll go for 9 then, meet in the middle.
You going to go to the pub and watch it, Brian?
What's that?
You going to go to the pub and watch it? It's on Premier Sports.
Nah.
I think you should, Brian. Can't be going to the pub. Right, just before we wrap up, we'll quickly rattle through some of the talking points from the weekend that people have sent in. So the first one was from Neil Pryor. He said, another great result. and great to see the goals getting spread around the team. We look a dangerous team again and 2 clean sheets in a row. Happy with that?
Solid B.
Solid B. Parmaham said should have been 7 at least. It's not good enough. 4-goal win, second in the league. Players getting paid and getting deferred money back. What's going on at our club? Get it sorted, Rod.
Amateur.
Aye, finger out Hibs, come on. William Graham said, young lad Bradley looks a talent. He certainly does. William Todd said he heard Paul McGinn's brother is half decent. Well, we know that. Stephen
Which
McGinn,
one?
obviously. Leon said the midfield looks to have found the balance. Drey RIGHT played well. A clean sheet away from home is always nice. Hibs looking really flexible on selection again, which for me is a positive. I suppose we were kind of talking about that as well. The flexibility in selection is a real positive at the moment, John. Isn't it?
Aye.
Good.
No, like
sweet.
I think, I don't know, I have these notions sometimes of things that I think that I see, and then someone like Brian will just start laughing at me for my bullshit. Well, like we were talking about Jamie Murphy last week, and I don't think that Jamie Murphy is like 90 minutes of running at players, but when he, like, it's quite, how do I put it? Like, you get the sense that he's going to do something when he starts running at people, and like I say, he's got the ball on the, kind of end of his toe, kind of inviting a challenge, kind of inviting somebody to dive in so he can skip past them. And I think that I can kind of see the same in Boyle and Drey RIGHT. Like, when I'm thinking about that sort of 4-2-3-1 formation, like the 3 guys supporting the attack, that, like, those 3, that's what I think I can see, like a really just like attacking team. And I think that's quite exciting. And I thought we saw that all sort of coming together at the weekend there. And I'm really keen to see Hibs continue to do that.
We should be an attacking team, eh? That's kind of should be expected of a Hibs team. SDG said Drey RIGHT much improved, an excellent assist and far more involved. Hallberg looked increasingly confident and gives us better balance in the middle of the park. Hanlon and Porteous absolutely strolled it, momentum building. Paul Stevenson said, wish someone would have half that Hearts cunt Callahan. I think Hanlon was a way to go after him at one point. And the referee, do you know when referees get, they think something's about to happen and they run faster than they've ever run before to try and make it look like they're breaking it up? Clancy had one of those moments and I was like, why is he running like that? And then you see it back and there was absolutely nothing in it. He's obviously just had a wee rush of blood to the head and just gone.
He is a wee cube, eh?
Well, he shattered the I can't remember the Hamilton player's name, but he was on a booking and he brought down Nisbet. Nisbet was just about to shoot, brought him down on the edge of the box, clear fucking yellow card.
Yep.
Boy would have been sent off, and he gave the foul but no booking, and Brian Rice took the player off right after it. Should have been a red. I hate it when referees do things like that when they change their mind because they know it means sending somebody off. Like if it's a booking, it's a booking. Just you can do your job. Clancy's a terrible referee though. He always has a look about him that is the face of a man who's knows he's fucked up but is just bashing on anyway.
He's got pornos under his bed, eh?
Aye. He's like,
is that what I look like on Skype?
Exactly. Like if somebody would walk in on a mid wank and he would just kind of continue but just do it slower and just look guilty and just pretend it wasn't happening. Right, there's an image that they want to have. Right, Andrew McBee said, what do some Hibs fans do when there's nothing to moan about? Don't know. Mikey, is Paul McGinn better than John? He's
getting there.
Different positions, eh? It's hard to compare them. So you're not comparing apples with apples here.
Exactly.
Andy Jeffrey said, Drey RIGHT, there's a player in there. Paul McGinn, Mr. Reliable in both boxes. Happy days. RT said 3 losses in 17 games is some serious form. We're beating all the teams we need to beat and the chase is on for third among the Hibs. This is like a really key point. It gets lost. And this is maybe kind of shines a light on some of the criticism that Jack Ross got, especially in the wake of the semi-final defeat where obviously there was a big reaction to it. But 3 losses in 17 games is fucking brilliant form for a Hibs manager. Like, how do you find fault with that? 3 defeats in 17 games. Like, it's a good chunk of the season. We've played both the Old Firm in that spell.
we're finally watching a Hibs team that are capable of beating the teams below them, or the teams that should be below them.
Aye.
Which is nice.
Folk talk
Finally.
about that like it would be an easy thing to do, but history tells us that's no easy for a
Yeah.
team like Hibs to do. Like Hibs have never been good at winning the games that we should win.
Yeah.
Aye. Good point, RT. Christopher Black said, more involvement from Boyle and Doige is another positive. Add a positive performance from both Hallberg and Wright. Lots and lots of positives. It's a very positive post. David Cumming said, a good solid all-round performance on a surface we've struggled on in the past. Goals from all over the team. A confidence builder for the League Cup quarter-final and another clean sheet. Dean Clements said, far better drive from midfield and movement up front was fantastic. Hallberg made the second goal just by driving with the ball from midfield into the final third, just like he did against Motherwell for our second there. Doige's movement made the fourth goal as well. Drey RIGHT looked to have played well. Great delivery for the second, but one good game against Hamilton doesn't shut up doubters, and deservedly so, but it's a start. They're all fair points as well, I think.
Yeah.
They definitely, the point about midfield and having that movement and getting, I suppose we spoke about it, but Hallberg getting beyond the strikers. McGuinness came in off the bench as well as Allan, and both looked to kind of get involved in the play. McGuinness in particular getting into forward positions. So it's quite an optimistic time to be a Hibby again. And it was nice to be second in the league for a little while, even if it was overnight.
Yep.
Sean, you look like you're poised to say something.
No.
Pushing a fart out.
No, it is like I think this is what I've been almost on the verge of preaching for weeks and months now. Is that like that? I think this is the team that we've been trying to build towards. Like this is the sort of results that we've been trying to get, and like we're in the middle of a really interesting run just now, where we've had difficult runs of fixtures in some points, but now we're in the midst of a good run of form. We're picking up points against teams, and we've got a real chance to end 2020 on a high, and in terms of points gained. There's lots of reasons to be optimistic going forward.
Definitely. Well, I think that's a good wee point to wrap up the show then. So we'll be back on Thursday for short bangers. So if you've got any questions, you know the drill. It doesn't have to be Hibs related. We will answer literally any old shite that gets sent into us. So keep them coming. We'll probably get an episode of bangers in as well. A lot of people seem to have enjoyed that and got in touch. So if you've not listened to that yet, you'll find it in all the usual places. I think people quite liked what we were talking about with 24. So if there's other TV shows that get on your tits, then tweet us and we'll maybe talk about them as well. John, Brian, thanks for your time tonight. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time. Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink water, no.